High. Torah Aki. And Yorika.
Ain't no love out here, it's a family. What a shame that you can't put your trust in nobody. All we supposed to be family. Last you until one day you start increasing the knowledge. But a love that it seems like it vanished. I just pray that my people will hear this and start with the hate that they show. I can't stand it. I don't care if you don't like me, I'ma love you regardless.
Israel, kill all the division. Stay along the path, gotta focus on the mission. Now listen, this the valley of dry bones. We all sinners, but we quick to throw out them stones. Yeah, real talk, we need to help each other. Instead of fighting all the time, need to love your brother. Getting in them scripts just to elevate your conscience. We claiming that we Hebrew, but we out here.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, family. It's your boy Silent Prophet here with Professor S, and this is Shabbat Talk. We doing
Shabbat
it.
Shalom, everyone.
We're doing it live. I'm out of town right now, so bear with me. I'm using hotspot Wi-Fi, so if I get choppy, if my voice drop off or something like that, please be patient with me. I appreciate you. Well, y'all know, first and foremost, we got to give all praises to the Most High. Without Him, we would not be here to have these enlightening discussions to get His information to the masses. So we got to give Him all praise, honor, worship, and esteem, and thank Him. And with that being said, go ahead and give it to the shout outs. So first off, we got Brother Gregory Sims in the building. You probably can't see him right now because he backstage, so he listening in. He like that fly on the wall that's just absorbing everything. You know what I'm saying? Brother Greg in the building. Shabbat Shalom, my brother.
Shabbat Shalom.
Sister Jasmine. Sister Andy.
Shabbat shalom.
Sister
Shabbat
Marquise
Shalom.
in the building. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. All right. So this week, the Torah portion, and I'm gonna be full honest with you guys. I've been so busy. I've been, on this 5 day business retreat, and I had not gotten a chance to read anything. Each day at this retreat was like an all-day event. I'm gonna be real. I barely got the presentation for tonight's done. I stayed up to like 5 a.m. working on it. I was working on it on the road to get to where I'm at right now. Look, I asked for y'all grace, but it's not like I haven't read these scriptures before. So, no harm, no foul, hopefully. But the Torah portion this week was Genesis chapter 18, verses 1 through Genesis chapter 22, verses 24. 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 1 through 37. The book of Luke chapter 1, verses 26 through 38. And chapter 24, verses 36 through 53. And finally, 2 Peter chapter 2, verses 4 through 11. And I'm going to quickly share my screen so we can look at the Torah portion video for today.
Shalom and welcome to Parsha in 60 seconds. Today's portion is from Genesis 18:1, 22-24, and is called Vayera, which means "and he appeared." Abraham meets God with 2 angels. The Lord said Sarah would have a son. Sarah LOL'd. God told Abraham about destroying Sodom and Gomorrah. Abraham asked if God would kill the innocent. God said he would not destroy the cities if there were 10 righteous people. Meanwhile, Lot was at the gate of Sodom, and 2 angels arrived. While they were at Lot's house, all of the men of Sodom gathered and demanded that the men be sent out. Lot offered his 2 virgin daughters. This caused a riot. The angels took Lot and his family out of the city. The family was instructed not to look back, but Lot's wife disobeyed and turned into a pillar of salt. Lot's daughters wanted to have children and devised a plan to get Lot drunk and sleep with him. They succeeded and had sons. Abraham settled in Gerar and tried to pull the same stunt he pulled in Egypt. But God warned King Abimelech and he gave Sarah back. Isaac was born and was circumcised 8 days later. After he was weaned, Abraham sent Hagar and Ishmael away. Abraham made an oath with Abimelech not to mess with him. God tested Abraham, directed him to offer Isaac as a burnt offering. As Abraham raised the knife to kill Isaac, an angel stopped him. God provided a ram, so he offered it in the place of his son. Abraham passed the test and was blessed. And that is Vayera in 60 seconds.
All right. That was Torah portion. Anybody got any thoughts, reflections, Anything stand out to him from that reading? Hopefully y'all read and y'all wasn't as disobedient as myself.
I guess I can start off. I just took a few bullet points from just the Genesis portion.
Okay.
I guess what I got from I'll just read all the notes. So first piece I got was when Sarah laughed and had disbelief in having a child in her old age. It just shows that she didn't have enough faith, and when Yah says something, he's going to do it. So just got to have faith in his word. Also, like Yah will spare a city, even if it has one righteous person in the entire city, he will spare it for that set apart person, that one person that's set apart. And that's another piece. Also, feel like we are living in times of Sodom and Gomorrah. Today when you look at all the evils in the world, is literally like Sodom and Gomorrah right outside our doorstep. We go outside, Sodom and Gomorrah right there, with all the evils happening and all the agendas. Then another thing I got was regarding Lot's wife. Like Yah gives us compassion, but if we disobey, we will feel his wrath. He don't play around. He gives us compassion, but if we keep disobeying, eventually he's gonna, we're gonna feel that wrath. And then when it comes to Isaac being circumcised on the 8th day, science always catches up to the Bible, and that's just another piece to where if you look at when they finally caught up, that's typically the best day to circumcise, because I think the cauterization is something like that, to where the blood can cauterize, or once you do that. But it's obviously that shows the Bible is true, because science took thousands of years to catch up to what was already in the Bible. That's just one of the pieces where it's scientific facts in the Bible type deal. And last thing I got was not listening to Yah will create great generational effects that will last many lifetimes. So you look at that, he had Isaac led to Jacob, which led to Yahushua HaMashiach, and then Ishmael's seed led to the birth of Islam and false worship for billions of people. So that's crazy. So that's what I got from Genesis.
Okay. I like it. I like it a lot. Thank you for sharing that, man. Because
welcome.
I feel like a lot of this Torah portion we've covered in recent time, in regards to we touched on Lot, we touched on Sodom and Gomorrah not too long ago. We touched on Abraham and the Akedah not too long ago. Well, that one was probably a long time ago, but we keep revisiting it in the middle of discussions. So I feel like it's kind of fresh in the mind. But good point about Sarah laughing, and that laugh it's like when you hear something that you don't quite believe it in the moment, that it becomes humorous to you. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Absolutely.
That's what Isaac names mean, is what is it? They laugh or something like that, to laugh or something like that, like laughing, like Isaac or Yisak. Yisak is his name, to laugh or be laughed at or something.
Okay. Anybody else?
When I read, it reminded me of the Sarah and Abraham. It reminded me of the Garden Eden, when where Eve gave Adam the fruit to eat, and now here is Sarah telling Abraham to go and sleep with Hagar and have a son, and conceive, which of course he's not the promise, but it just. My son turned to me when I was talking about it, and he said, Mom, there is nothing new under the sun, which is true. There is nothing new under the sun. It's just history that repeats itself. But at the same time, there's a consequence for when we obey. They were kicked out of the garden. And here, Sarah, when she finally had her son, she was so upset that Hagar and her son had to leave, Ishmael, they had to leave. Because she was hurting. He was making fun of her son, so they had to leave. They're just consequences. When we do things that are wrong, then we have to pay. We got to pay some kind of a price for that, or our disobedience. That's all I got.
Awesome. That also reminds me of recently we talked about concubines and mistresses according to the scriptures, and it covered Sarah and Hagar, and we talked about the aspect where when Hagar had Ishmael, her mistress became despised in her sight. So after she had the baby, she started to have ill intentions towards Sarah, who was her mistress. So like all of these things are kind of tying in for me. That's kind of what I'm soaking in as I'm hearing all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had recently read this section in the Targum, and a few key things that I made notes of when I read through it in the Targum was it said that Ishmael was worshiping falsely, right? That Ishmael is worshiping falsely, which goes along with what Brother Greg said, talking about the false worship now, and then and that was the reason that he was sent away, so that his false worship wouldn't infect Isaac, and Isaac wouldn't start worshiping falsely. Then I had read, in a different book. I can't remember the book off the top of my head. But I'd read in this book about Hagar and Isaac and Ishmael and Sarah, and how they were trying to make Abraham have a seed, because the promise had already been given, right? But Sarah was like, well, if I can't do it, then we'll find some way to do it. And so they were trying to make it happen on their own without waiting for it to happen. And it probably, in the book, it talked about that through trying to make it happen, it actually caused Sarah to later believe, right? But that she didn't have the belief before, and that's why she tried to make it happen. Which is, about the laughter and stuff. Laughing, sometimes you can laugh about something because you think it's completely preposterous and ridiculous and nonsensical, and then you laugh about it because of that. There's other times you can laugh about something because it makes you so excited inside to think about it that it just causes you to well up with emotion, and it comes out as laughter, right? So I would say I think that's what it was when that happened, when Sarah got that, and she laughed. I don't believe she was laughing out of disbelief necessarily, but rather excitement. So a few things that I had noted.
Okay. All right. Well, family, I would love to spend a lot more time on this Torah portion, but we got a lot of information to cover today. So we might have to do it part 2. Just being real with y'all, we might do a part 2. So birthdays, the celebration of birthday, permissible or pagan? So we're gonna get into it. We're gonna talk about it, and please bear with me because it's a lot of information. And stop me in the middle, or however you need to do it, because when I share my screen, I can't see what y'all doing. So just be like, "Hey, brother, I got something I want to add." But let me get it open.
I will say, as far as the birthday thing goes, that was something that I hadn't really studied out too much until you had told me to, and told me what this Shabbat Talks topic was going to be on. It was something that I hadn't really studied out. I knew that there were certain pagan elements to the traditional birthday celebration and so forth, but I was fairly shocked going through it. Finding out some of the things I found, and this is not to say that if someone says happy birthday to you, you should be like, oh, well, No, but I'd say, just accept it and be like, okay, well, thanks. I'm having a good day or whatever. But but like the various elements of traditional modern birthdays, I did not even know myself how rooted in paganism they actually are. I was a little shocked.
I did a deep dive initially, like when I first came into the truth back in 2018. But I got like overrun with so much information up front, like, and I'm talking about within like 2 days of looking into this, like not even that long. And it was enough for me. And I was like, I'm good. I already know. But haven't subsequently in years past gone back, right, to really like do a deep dive. And we've never covered like birthdays in depth on this channel. Regardless if it was Shabbat talk or even just the previous videos that I was putting out on my own time. I never really went into it, but it's a topic that's out there, and this particular topic was requested to be brought up so we can go into it and get a more deeper understanding and bring it out. So with that being said, the pagan origins of birthday celebrations, a biblical perspective. So is it God's holy days or pagan holidays? All right, so everything in like didn't mean to do that. Everything in like italics is just my commentary, and a lot of my commentary comes with you'll see this little arrow next to it to let you know that it's my commentary. But in a world filled with an array of celebrations, one pertinent question arises: what is the biblical perspective on birthday celebrations? To unravel this mystery, it's crucial to delve into the roots of birthday festivities, examine biblical examples, and explore the stances of different religious groups. Idolatry, a central concept, plays a key role in the analysis of birthday celebrations. This concept extends beyond the mere creation of physical idols for worship. The central question is, where in the Bible does it instruct us to celebrate our birthdays? Where do we find examples of our biblical patriarchs celebrating their birthdays as models for us to follow? The absence of clear biblical directives regarding birthday celebration prompts us to consider their validity. It's a matter of recognizing the presence and absence of specific instructions. In the context of religious observance, it's about understanding why certain customs or practices are present or absent in the scriptures. The Satanic Bible, with its distinct tenets, might contain references to such celebrations, but this doesn't inherently make them biblical or divinely ordained. Some argue that since the adversary, Satan, has a knack for perverting various aspects of faith and tradition, his potential celebration of birthdays serves as a red flag. The absence of explicit biblical guidance on celebrating birthdays suggests that it might not align with spiritual teachings, as individuals who have chosen to distance themselves from mainstream religious practices and worldly influences. The question arises, should these practices have been left behind as well? If birthday celebrations were both lawful and encouraged in a biblical context, one would expect to find clear instructions or permissions in the Torah, the foundational text of the Hebrew Bible. If celebrating birthdays were a divine law, it would most likely be detailed in Leviticus chapter 23 or another similar section. In the absence of such explicit directives, the question of whether birthday celebrations are divinely sanctioned becomes more faulty. In essence, the discussion revolves around the idea that obedience should take precedence over the observance of potential carnal traditions that may lack spiritual significance in the grander scheme of faith. It is posited that one should consider relinquishing such pagan traditions and instead focus on observing the Most High's holy feast days. These are seen as sacred and spiritually meaningful, providing occasions to express gratitude for every day one has been granted in this world, acknowledging that life is transient and the ultimate goal is to worship the Most High in spirit and in truth. The implications then extend beyond the mere act of celebrating one's own birth, which is a worldly matter, to a deeper spiritual perspective that transcends individual holidays. So like I said earlier, I did a deep dive on birthdays back in 2018, and I haven't really done a deep dive since. So this study really was it was good to do, open my eyes and everything. But so first, let's discuss some of the arguments for celebrating birthdays. Let's look at Abraham celebrating the weaning of his son. So if you go to the book of Jasher, chapter 21, verses 1 through 8, it says, "And it was at that time, at the end of the year and 4 months of Abram's dwelling in the land of the Philistines in Gerar, that the Most High visited Sarah, and the Most High remembered her, and she conceived and bare a son to Abraham. And Abraham called the name of the son which was born to him, which Sarah bore to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac at 8 days old. And the Most High had commanded Abraham to do unto his seed after him. And Abraham was 100 and Sarah 90 years old. And when Isaac was born to them, and the child grew up, and he was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast upon the day that Isaac was weaned. And Shem and Eber and all the great people of the land, and Abimelech, king of the Philistines, and his servants, and Phicol, the captain of his host, came to eat and drink and rejoice at the feast which Abraham made upon the day of his son's Isaac being weaned. Also Terah, the father of Abraham, and Nahor, his brother, came from Haran, they and all belonging to them, for they greatly rejoiced on hearing that a son had been born to Sarah. And they came to Abraham, and they ate and drank at the feast which Abraham made upon the day of Isaac's being weaned. And Terah and Nahor rejoiced with Abraham, and they remained with him many days in the land of the Philistines." So people say, you know, well, not people say, some people say that this is support for celebrating birthday. They go to the scripture where it talks about Isaac being weaned, and they say, well, typically a child was weaned on their birthday. So him having a feast on a birthday supports celebration of birthdays. But the focus and the point about having a celebration for Isaac's weaning it had nothing to do with his birthday. It was celebrating the fact that he passed a milestone in his life where he was no longer in danger of having certain complications that children were having during that time. Being weaned from the breast, now he's eating food, he's eating hearty food, he's growing, he's developing. It's a celebration because there's a period of a child being fragile during the time that they're weaning, right? And so when a child would come to a certain age and they were weaned off the breast, it was cause for a celebration. And when you look into the scriptures here, it doesn't say anything about the purpose of it being focused around the birthday per se. Now, it did say that his father and his brother rejoiced at the fact that he had a son born to him, but it was just the fact that, like, if you hear about your brother or your sister having a baby, you're not worried about the birthday. You're worried about just being happy for them that they have a child to begin with, whether it's a boy or a girl. You're just happy for them in general. The scripture clearly states that the celebration and feast was held due to Isaac being weaned, not a birthday. The day Isaac was born isn't the highlight here, and the scripture is intentional. Here is another argument for celebrating birthdays using the three wise men who visited Messiah. So it says, but some have felt, basically by seeing certain alleged manger scenes, that the Magi, or the wise men, came from the east and gave the Messiah presents on the day of his birth. And that is from Should Christians Celebrate Birthdays? Do Birthdays Have Pagan Origins? By Bob Thiel. Well, there are a few issues with this. First, the wise men definitely were not with Isa alayhi salam on the day of his birth. The Bible is clear that he had already been born. So if you go to Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 through 2, it says, now after Messiah was born in Bethlehem of Judah, in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, where is he who has been born king of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and have come to worship him. Right? So the more notice that they came to worship him, not celebrate his birthday. It was customary in those times, and still is today, to provide gifts when meeting royalty. Thus, the wise men meeting the Messiah and providing presents should not be construed as a birthday celebration. Now, let's examine the Messiah's own words regarding following man-made doctrines and traditions. And I put it in this order because we're just talking about Messiah and might as well hear it from his own mouth. So in Mark chapter 7, verses 7 through 9, it says, howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. For laying aside the commandment of the Most High, ye hold the tradition of men, as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such like things ye do. And he said unto them, full well ye reject the commandment of the Most High, that ye may keep your own tradition. So he's directly addressing tradition. Now, he's not directly addressing birthdays. I'm not trying to say that he's doing that, but he's directing traditions of men. And as we see, as we're going to continue to see from all of the information that we're going to present tonight, birthday celebration is actually rooted in paganism. And when I say rooted in paganism, it means its origins is pagan. The biblical figures never celebrated birthdays. None of our patriarchs celebrated birthdays. There's literally, and I looked through the standard 66 book Bible, Jasher, Jubilees, Enoch. I didn't check out the Dead Sea Scrolls. I should definitely look into that. But from the ones that I did look into, I only found 4 instances of a mention of a birthday. 3 of which we're going to cover, and it wasn't positive, and they weren't conducted by followers of the Most High. They were conducted by foreign nationals who were pagan and believed in other mighty ones. So when the Messiah speaks and he's talking about holding on to tradition and the tradition of men specifically, if something's pagan, that means a man made it. And if we're keeping this tradition of celebrating birthdays, regardless for your reasons of celebrating the birthday, it's important to understand where that came from. And even though your intention in celebrating a birthday might not be what its original intent was, it goes back to that example that I gave a long time ago, where I was talking about, like, if there was a mass murder in a home where 30 people was killed, right? And they marked that date as, like, let's just say January 1st, right? And so they marked the date January 1st. And so everybody in the neighborhood, everybody in the city knows that was like the massacre date, right? So every January 1st, they'll do vigils, they'll, hold signs up, they'll, mourn with the family and different things like that. But fast forward 50, 60, 70 years, people forget about it, right? And the people who do still know about the massacre, they say, well, we're going to change the narrative. We're going to make that negative event a positive event. And so on January 1st, instead of calling it the massacre, they call it something positive. And instead of having the grieving and the vigils and the remembrance, they have like an uplifting event and make it about kids and make it about, sunshine and rainbows, right? And so people start to observe it. Well, you fast forward about 5 to 10 years, people are keeping that as a tradition, regardless if it originally started as a massacre. So no matter how much you sprinkle glitter on top of it, it still originated in a massacre. And so that's kind of what happens when we're observing some of these things, right? A lot of us understand that Christmas, for example, is pagan. It was rooted in paganism. It originated in Rome, right, as Saturnalia, as a completely different holiday. And then It was adopted later on by the Roman Catholic Church, and they put the name of Messiah on top of it, made it the focus on Messiah, but still kept a lot of the paganism and the pagan traditions. Well, when people keep it today, they're not keeping it with intent to be pagan. They're keeping it to, give gifts and have holiday cheer and be better people, right? But no matter how you look at it, if the origin of something is still pagan, then there's nothing you can do in essence to change that, right? And so we're not commanded to keep these pagan traditions. We're commanded to keep the Most High set apart days, whether they be the Sabbath, whether it be New Moon Day, whether it be one of the various feasts throughout the year. Those are the things that we're commanded to keep. Another verse from Messiah is Matthew 15:3. It says, "But he answered and said unto them, Why do ye also transgress the commandment of the Most High by your tradition?" So he's directly addressing not only are people doing their own tradition. Tradition in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, as long as it's not transgressing anything. It's not transgressing the Torah. But he's specifically saying, why do you also transgress the commandment, transgress the Torah by the traditions that you've created, right? The Most High said that he doesn't want us to deal in paganism. He doesn't want us to worship other gods. He wants us to only worship him, right? And to show him love, honor, affection, give everything that we have to him, not to anyone else. Well, paganism is the direct contrary to that, right? So if you're doing something that's rooted in paganism that originally started to give worship to other false gods, so to speak, you're transgressing the commandment by that tradition. It's not like a local tradition in your house, like if everybody eats on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. because that's just what you guys have been doing as a family, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Doing that isn't transgressing anything. You guys created a tradition. Everyone has, fallen in love with the tradition, is what you guys have done. But what we're doing as a society is we're taking pagan origins and creating and following the traditions that was based upon those traditions. I hope what I'm saying is making sense. Y'all can stop me at any time, or if you got something to chime in with, please do.
I would just mention, and I'm sure you put this in here. I would mention about we only have 2 examples in all of Scripture of birthdays, and both of them were pagan celebrations. I was in my research, I found that previously it didn't even used to be everyone got a birthday celebration. It was only the royalty got a birthday celebration. In Genesis 40, chapter 40.
Yeah, I got that one. That's Pharaoh, yeah.
And then Herod's birthday celebration. So the only example we have of birthday celebrations are pagans doing. And it's not like having a birthday. Everyone has a birthday. Everyone has a birthday. So having a birthday is not like a bad thing. But to participate in these revelries and so forth, that's where it becomes an issue. And incorporating the pagan to it as well.
Mm-hmm. And I know,
I actually found example in Maccabees as well. So there was 2 in the 66 book, and then the one in Maccabees, 2nd Maccabees. I found out all 3 of those are atrocities dealing with birthdays. Then there's a few that are insinuated, right? You have the account that I read in Jasher about the weaning. There's the account in Job where I think it's his son and his daughter were having this celebration, but it never said anything about the birthday. That was insinuated. So even if it was talking about the birthday, that's not a good example either, because the house crumbled on top of them and they were killed. So, but yeah, go ahead, brother. What were you about to say?
Oh, I was just gonna bring up the one in Job.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm pausing just because the echo, so I'll let it talk in case it sounds weird and you can't hear. But yeah, I think you did say they prepared a feast for Job's birthday or something. And I have to look at it though.
Okay. Go and pull it up while we're doing this, and when you get it, we can take a pause and look at that.
Okay.
But in Exodus chapter 20, this is the 10 Commandments, right? It says, "And the Most High spake all these words, saying, I am the Most High, your Elohim, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage." And he's specifically explicit in the way he delivers this. He says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I am the Most High thy Elohim, and I the Most High thy Elohim am a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Most High thy Elohim in vain, for the Most High will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work." So we see, going back to verse 3, no other gods before him. Idolatry, paganism, right there. Next, the next one, no graven image, no likeness of anything in heaven, on earth, nothing in the water underneath the earth. All of these things are rooted in idolatry. So if you're giving worship to these things, the images that are being made, that's when you are crossing that line and breaking this commandment. Then it says, "You shall not bow thyself down to them, nor serve them." That's what I'm talking about. That's the connection to the worship. And then he said he's a jealous Elohim, and he visits the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation, to them that hate him. But then if you want to know who hates him, he just literally explained it. Those who are breaking his commandments is the ones that hate him. Verses 1 through 5 explains to you the people who hate him. Then he says in verse 6, he says, "And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love him." But who are the people that love him? He says, "And keep his commandments." So keeping his commandments is showing how you love him. Then he goes on to say you don't take the name of the Most High in vain. Then he tells you to remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. So his instructions are clear. And even if you go into Leviticus 23, he tells you the specific days, including the Sabbath again, but he tells you the specific days he wants you to observe. None of those have anything to do with a birthday.
And
verse 10 is... Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I found it, but my computer is going slow and it's freezing. Are you able to pull up from the sources you use, Job 1:4?
Job 1 and 4?
Yeah, 1:4, to see what the meaning of because my hallelujah scripture says on his day, but then my other app says birthday. So I just wonder what that actual the meaning of the word is. So,
Job 1 and 4.
Sons made a feast for they just ate. They made a dinner and they told the sisters to come eat with them on each one of their birthdays. They made a dinner to eat, but it didn't say that they celebrated, did all kinds of crazy stuff. They just made a feast to eat on their birthday.
Okay. Are y'all able to see this?
Yeah, it's a little small, but I can see it though.
Okay. I apologize again on my laptop.
Yeah, well, if you
I'm trying to hit too many buttons at once.
If you go to full screen, you can see it a lot better. If people are, if it's small for other people.
Yeah, it's full screen for me, but all right. So it's 31:17 Yom. Definition is day, but let's see if there's a specific context associated with that for this specific scripture. So let's see if we can find Job chapter 1, verse 4 in here and see if it says anything about a birthday or anything like that. It's a division of time, a working day, a day's journey. Oh no, I saw Jonah and got excited. Hold on. Still looking for Job. A day is defined by evening and morning. Day of the month. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can control F it. Job 1. That's Job 18. Job 1 and 6. Job. Second is moving kind of slow. Job 1 and 5. Oh, what does it say? Can you read Job 1 and 5, Brother Greg? It identifies Job 1 and 5. I don't see Job 1 and 4.
Let me see if I can pull it. Okay, let me go back. I had closed this, but it should be. Okay, you said 1 and 5? 5?
Yeah.
And it came to be when the days of feasting had gone around that Eob, or probably Job, would send and kadosh them, and he would rise early in the morning and offer burnt offerings, the number of them all. For Eob said, it might be that my sons have sinned and cursed Elohim in their hearts. This Eob always did. Oh,
okay.
Wow.
So, I mean, reading that, I'm not going to jump to conclusions, but when he said that like that, when you say it like that,
wow.
I can't find any definitive proof here that when it said day, it was talking about a birthday. So let me premise this by saying Job 1 and 4, the word day there can be insinuated as a birthday, but I'm not finding it in the Strong's Concordance. Now, if it is in fact birthday celebration or worship, that would also make sense because verse 5, you read verse 5 and 6, or was that just verse 5?
I think that was just 5.
Yeah, verse 5 says that, Job acknowledged that they might have sinned. Well, what sin would they be doing other than having that feast that they were having? So, I mean, if it was a birthday, which I'm not saying it was, but if it was, that's probably why it would prompt him to say that. Because we know keeping any of the feasts of the Most High is not only commanded in the scriptures, but also permitted to do so. So, that's just, one of those things. And then verse 10 and 11 here, just, is finishing off talking about the seventh day. All right. He rested and he blessed the day that he rested. He hallowed it. Okay. So we're going to talk about Paul now. Paul discusses various warnings on the same topic. Colossians chapter 2, verses 8, 18, 20, and 22. He's just hitting them with the gems. Beware, lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after the Messiah. Right? Tradition of men. Even the Messiah was talking about the tradition. And the reason why I went back to the 10 Commandments is to go back to what the Most High commanded us to do and what not to do, right? And we'll get into like the actual pagan origins as we continue to go through this, right? But the traditions of men, the rudiments of the world. The rudiments of the world is the things that the world does. We're supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. We're supposed to be a set apart people, holy and acceptable unto the Most High, right? Then Paul continues with verse 18. He says, let no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility and worshiping of angels, intruding into those things which he hath not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind, right? And obviously we know that there's different names given. We know that there's the main angel that you got to worry about, right? And we're gonna get into Satan as well, and what he stands for, what he represents, and how he plays a significant role in the observance of birthdays. But Paul's like, don't let nobody beguile you. Let no man beguile you. Verse 20, wherefore if ye be dead with the Messiah from the rudiments of the world, why, as though living in the world, are ye subject to ordinances? So if you're operating in Messiah, dead from the rudiments of the world, meaning you're removed from the rudiments of the world, you're above that now, you've died to Christ, and you've been reborn, separated from those rudiments of the world. Why are you living in the world, being subject to the ordinances of the world? Which goes back to verse 8, right? You live at that point, you're after the rudiments of the world and not after the Messiah. So why die with Messiah, follow him, make the choice to choose the path that he walked, but still be in the world? And then lastly, verse 22, which all are to perish with the using after the commandments and doctrines of men. Right? Commandments and doctrines of men. So continuing on, here we are going to discuss the pagan origins of birthday celebrations. We'll start with a quote from a CBS News article by Jason DeRusha, I believe it was, WCCO TV. And he says, I think this was in Minneapolis. He says, to children of all ages, a birthday is a reason to celebrate. But why? Why are the reasons for many of our birthday celebrations? Why do we celebrate birthdays? The idea of celebrating the date of your birth is a pagan tradition. In fact, many Christians didn't celebrate birthdays historically because of that link to paganism. Pagans thought that evil spirit lurked on days of major changes, like the day you turn a year older. And there's the link to it as well, to go to the article, to read it in its entirety. And then I just Googled some things and screenshotted what I found. So the origin of the birthday celebrations, pagans believed that a person was especially susceptible to spells of good and evil during their birthday. All right, so you see that. The ancient Greeks believed that each person had a spirit that attended his or her birth and kept watch. That spirit had a mystic relation with the god on whose birthday the individual was born, says the Book of Lore of Birthdays. Why do we blow out candles on our birthday? The candles were a response to evil spirits. They showed up to communicate with the gods, a light in the darkness. It all begins. What I do? Okay, it all begins with an exploration of the roots of birthday celebrations, where we uncover their deep-seated pagan origins. And the link for that one is there. So I'm citing all of this like a college paper almost. All right, so Greek. The first one is the Greek theory, which says that the tradition of blowing candles on birthdays is connected to the ancient practice of lighting the candles in order to worship the birth of the goddess Artemis. According to another theory, the tradition of blowing candles originated in Switzerland in the year 1881. Now you see all the Greek signs, birthday candle. That's all that picture is.
And I put in the chat, our coalition chat, what the H3117 meant as far as like in the Hebrew, I have the E sword and the King JV plus. So I just kind of put that in the chat that people want to read what is, kind of break it down to different meanings of that word.
Okay. All right. History of birthday candles. The Greeks would make round cakes to honor Artemis, the goddess of the moon, The lit candles on the cake represented the glow of the moon, and the smoke from the candles carried their prayers and wishes to the gods who lived in the skies. So there's multiple pieces that is talking about the origin of the candles specifically into Greek mythology, right? The origin of birthday and candles. So it says, what if I told you December 25th has been someone's birthday for over 4,000 years? Birthdays are associated with astrology. The birthday of Nimrod was the first birthday celebration, and Nimrod became all the sun deities everywhere in babbled names, including Shamash, Mithras. Mithras, pay attention to that because we'll come back to Mithras a little bit later. Moloch, Baal, Apollo, and Santa Claus or Krampus. Galatians pagan habits return. Yeah, Santa Claus got a whole dark history behind it too. It's interesting. Birthday origins are easily found with a little research, and at first only kings had them. At the new year, the sun reborn as it returned from its most southerly position. The cakes baked for the Queen of Heaven are the things Paul saw the Galatians having difficulty breaking with when he said, but now that you know Elohim, or rather are known by Elohim, how is it that you are turning back to those weak and worthless principles? Do you wish to be enslaved by them all over again? You are observing special days and months and seasons and years. I fear for you that my efforts for you may have been in vain. Galatians 4, verses 9 through 11. And then it says, Peter discusses how our family and friends are perplexed when we stop doing the things we once did. And then that's 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 3 through 5. The following is a quotes from writings and writers, ancient and modern, religious and secular, attesting to pagan origins and nature of celebrating one's supposed day of birth. Of course, many contemporary secularized people will object and say that birthdays no longer have any religious significance, despite the fact that all the ancient pagan rituals are maintained and preserved in modern celebrations. However, if you profess to be a Muslim, a Jew, or a Christian, you should not be doing this, especially after you become aware that the word secular has the same definition as irja, and that means separating beliefs from actions. For example, separating public actions from privately held beliefs or religion. Yet religion is, from the Latin religar, that it means that which binds, thus making secular humanism a religion in its own right. Okay, originally the idea of birthday greetings and wishes for happiness was rooted in magic. The working of spells for good and evil is the chief usage of witchcraft. One is especially susceptible to such spells on his birthday, as one's personal spirit are about at that time. Dreams dreamed on the birthday eve should be remembered, for they are predictions of the future brought by the guardian spirits which hover over one's bed on the birthday eve. Birthday greetings have power for good or ill because one is closer to the spirit world on this day. Good wishes bring good fortune, but the reverse is also true. So one should avoid enemies on one's birthday and be surrounded by well wishers. Happy birthday, and many more happy returns of the day. Our traditional greetings, The Lore of Birthdays by Linton, page 20, I think it says. The giving of birthday gifts is a custom associated with the offering of sacrifices to pagan gods on their birthdays. Certainly, the custom was linked with the same superstitions that followed the background for birthday greetings. The exchange of presents is associated with the importance of ingratiating good and evil fairies on their or our birthdays. And that is by Abid. Traditional birthday cake and candles also have their origin in ancient pagan idol worship. The ancients believed that the fire of candles had magical properties. They offered prayers and made wishes to be carried to the gods, which is confirming the other piece that we read earlier about, they was worshiping Artemis. Okay, the ancient believes that the fires and chemical have candles have magical properties. They offer prayers and made wishes to be carried to the gods on the flames of the candles. Thus, we still have the widely practiced birthday custom of making a wish, then blowing out the candles. Hint, hint. The Greeks celebrated the birthday of their moon goddess Artemis with cakes adorned with lighted candles. This is should Christians celebrate birthdays? Do birthdays have pagan origins? By Bob Thiel. Furthermore, the book The Lore of Birthdays in New York, 1952, by Ralph and Edelyn Linton. It covers the Greeks believed that everyone had a protective spirit or daemon or jinn or demon. It's really a demon. That's what a jinn is, really. Who attended his birth and watched over him in life. This spirit had a mystic relation with the god on whose birthday the individual was born. The Romans also subscribed to this idea. This notion was carried down in human belief and is reflected in the guardian angel, the fairy godmother, and the patron saint, the dead Sufi master or the Sufis. The custom of lighted candles on the cake started with the Greeks. Again, we see Greeks being referenced. Honey cakes, round as the moon and lit with tapers, were placed on the temple altars of Artemis. There you go again. Birthday candles in folk belief are endowed with special magic for granting wishes. Lighted tapers and sacrificial fires have had a special mystic significance ever since man first set up altars to his gods. The birthday candles are thus an honor and tribute to the birthday child and bring good fortune. Thus, birthdays had their origin in mythology and magic, with horoscoping also playing a role. The celebration of birthdays is unknown in traditional Jewish ritual. It is unknown in traditional Jewish ritual. There shall not be found among you anyone who makes his son or daughter pass through the fire, or one who practices witchcraft, or a soothsayer, or one who interprets omens, or a sorcerer, or one who conjures spells, or a medium, or a spiritualist, or one who calls up the dead. For all who do these things are an abomination to the Most High. And that's Deuteronomy 18, verses 10 through 12. Right? So it just directly addressed everything that I just read in terms about like the birthdays and candles and all that stuff. Okay. You are wearied in the multitude of your counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, and the monthly prognosticators stand up and save you from what shall come upon you. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. That is Isaiah 47, verses 13 through 14. As I stated earlier, idolatry is a central theme extending beyond mere physical idols to encompass any practice that strays from biblical principles. It's important to understand the concept of idolatry when exploring the origins of birthday celebrations, as we have already covered a brief amount of first-hand biblical accounts of how the Most High, the Messiah, and one of the apostle patriarchs and Paul have addressed this concern. Another striking observation is the Bible's silence regarding birthday celebrations. Nowhere does it instruct us to celebrate our birthdays, and none of the patriarchs in the Bible set an example for us to follow in this regard. This is not to be refuted. Another thing to note is how the celebration of birthdays actually fall into the satanic realm as well. Moreover, the adversary, Satan, is known for perverting all things. If birthday celebrations have any connection to pagan practices, it serves as a red flag, warning us against adopting them. When people choose to leave behind the ways of the world, it's essential to discern which practices were not given as divine instructions. For 2 Corinthians 11 and 14, it says, "And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light." I mentioned earlier the angel that we should be worried about is Satan, and we get into Satan, right? So I just highlighted this scripture to really show you what Satan was, and then use this word to break down the actual word. So let's go down. It's Strong's Concordance 4567. It says Satan, the adversary, the devil. And you continue down, you see it all highlighted here. The adversary, Satan, the devil. Usage, an adversary or Satan. Okay, so you see it over and over and over again. Same thing. Okay, the accuser, i.e., the devil or Satan. So you continue going down. Now it comes from the Hebrew word, and it's 7854, Satan. And it means the same thing. Adversary, also the name of the superhuman adversary of God. That's straight from the Strong's Concordance. Same thing. Continue on as you see all the highlights. It's saying the same thing. Adversary, also the superhuman adversary of God. Psalms 109 and 6. It mentions it in here, so I just copied and pasted the actual verse. It just mentioned the actual verse, but it says, "See thou a wicked man over him, and let Satan stand at his right hand." And an adversary and in Satan. So superhuman adversary, as you can see right there. And then going down from Satan, an opponent, especially with the article prefix Satan, the arch enemy of good. Adversary, Satan, withstand. And then if you want to look at adversary, I looked up what it means in our like understanding, even in a secular, right? It says, what is the meaning of adversary? One that contends with, opposes, or resists an enemy or opponent. So it's important to understand, even from the secular understanding, is in alignment with the biblical understanding. Satan means adversary. Adversary means an enemy, an opponent, someone who resists, someone who goes against. So anything that is against the Most High or anything associated with the Most High is anti-Elohim or satanic. Satanic means you're in agreement with Satan on whatever the topic is. And all of that means is you are going against whatever the Most High set forth. And he's the adversary of the Most High. So he is the opponent, and his job is to do things contrary to what the Most High said. Now, we have read in Job and other scriptures, right? He's still a servant, right? So, and I don't like when it's a superhuman adversary of God. They try to like put him on the same pedestal. We covered that and covered a deep dive on who Satan actually is. And it came out like he's just a servant too. He can't do anything without permission. But whether you're, doing a goat sacrifice in the bottom of this dark basement, spraying the blood on the walls, drawing pentagrams and chanting and trying to be a medium to certain spirits and invoke demons into you, right? Or you're simply agreeing with something that was rooted in something that goes against the Most High. Both are satanic. When we hear satanic, we think like to that dark gore stuff, right? But satanic just means you're in agreement with the adversary, because the root word of satanic is Satan, and we just covered what Satan means. It means something that goes against the Most High, which is why I even went over in earlier the 10 Commandments, because that is the layout of what the Most High is saying, what we should do and what we shouldn't do. So if you're in agreement with the 10 Commandments, then you're worshiping. If you're not in agreement with the 10 Commandments, then you are dealing in some type of satanic state, because you're going against what the Most High set forth. So the absence of any law encouraging birthday celebrations is telling. If such celebrations were lawful and encouraged, there would likely be specific instructions in the Torah permitting them. However, the Bible remains devoid of any such endorsement. In contrast, a law to celebrate birthdays will find its place in Leviticus chapter 23 alongside other appointed feasts. If it were divinely ordained, this contemplation extends further, raising the question of whether one is willing to risk their eternal reward for the sake of a carnal tradition. In the grand scheme of things, do birthday celebrations hold any significant place? The answer seems to point in a different direction. A series of biblical examples solidify the connection between birthday celebrations and paganism. The stories of Herod, Pharaoh, and the forced birthday celebrations in 2 Maccabees provide tangible evidence of this link, being the only viable accounts of birthday celebration mentioned in Scripture. First, let's examine the mention of Herod's birthday celebration as recounted in Matthew 14, 1-12, and Mark 6, 14-29, which culminated in the gruesome beheading of John the Baptist. This tragic event illustrates the danger of indulging in such festivities. So, verse 1, at the time Herod, so he's a tetrarch of the fame of the Messiah, and said unto his servants, this is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. For Herod had laid hold of John and bound him and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife. Okay. For John said unto him, it is not lawful for thee to have her. So right off the bat, you see some craziness, right? Herodias is his brother Philip's wife. John calls him out and tells him it is unlawful for you to have her. And when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude because they counted him as a prophet. So it says that he wanted to put John to death. Why did he want to put John to death? Because he got called out. Right? He wanted to put him to death, but he feared the multitude because they considered John a prophet. And remember, we talked about this time period as very, very fragile. The higher ups, both the leadership in Rome and the leadership of the Jews, they didn't want to cause too much controversy because the people could rise up and overtake them. But then it says, but when Herod's birthday was kept, so here we go. We're talking about birthdays, right? Birthdays. The daughter of Herodias danced before him and pleased Herod. Okay, verse 7. Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, give me here John the Baptist's head in a charger. And the king was sorry, nevertheless, for the oath and them which sat with him at meat. He commanded it to be given her. And he sent and beheaded John in the prison. And his head was brought in a charger and given to the damsel, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took up the body and buried it and went and told the Messiah. So he was afraid to kill John at first because he didn't want to overthrow. He didn't want the people to overthrow him. Then this girl give him a little, I ain't gonna call it a strip dance or strip tease, but it says she danced for him and it pleased him. Then he gave her an oath saying, whatever you want, I'll give it to you. She had already got told by her mom that she wants the head of John the Baptist. So he told her, she told him, he made it happen. So he went against what he was already previously afraid to do. All of this on his birthday celebration, right? Mark chapter 6. So this is talking about the same instance, but just from a different perspective. And King Herod heard of him, for his name was spread abroad, and he said that John the Baptist was risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. Others said that it is Elijah, and others said that it is a prophet, or as one of the prophets. But when Herod heard thereof, he said, it is John, whom I beheaded. He is risen from the dead. For Herod himself had sent forth and laid hold upon John and bound him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife, for he had married her. Okay, so this goes even further. It says he had married her, right? So this is giving us information that we didn't have before. And this is talking in past tense. He said, because I've already killed him. I've already beheaded him, right? For John had said unto Herod, past tense, it is not lawful for thee to have thy brother's wife, right? Therefore, Herodias had a quarrel against him and would have killed him, but she could not. So she wanted him dead, but she couldn't do nothing about it. That's why she told her daughters to tell him that. For Herod feared John, knowing that he was a just man and holy, and observed him. And when he heard him, he did many things and heard him gladly. And when a convenient day was come, that Herod on his birthday made a supper to his lords, high captains, and chief estates of Galilee. And when the daughter of said Herodias came in and danced and pleased Herod, and them that sat with him, the king said unto the damsel, ask of me whatever thou wilt, and I will give it thee. And he swore unto her, whatsoever thou shalt ask of me, I will give it thee, and unto the half of my kingdom. And he went forth and said unto her mother, what shall I, or she went forth and said unto her mother, what shall I ask? And she said, the head of John the Baptist. So this showing you what happened as the daughter went back and actually asked her mom. And she came in straightway with haste unto the king and asked, saying, I will that thou give me by and by in a charger the head of John the Baptist. And the king was exceedingly sorry, yet for his oath's sake and for their sakes which sat with him, he would not reject her. And immediately the king sent an executioner and commanded his head to be brought. And he went and beheaded him in prison and brought his head in a charger and gave it to the damsel, and the damsel gave it to her mom. And when his disciples heard of it, they came and took up his corpse and laid it in a tomb. So something to note, Herod celebrating his birthday, I gotta say this, is not validating an example of whether or not Jews celebrated their birthdays, because he was not a righteous observing Jew. He was an Edomite. He was placed in that position by the Roman authority. He was not like King Saul, who was an Israelite and they promoted him, or David, or any of the kings throughout, right? King Herod was not that. He was what we call today when somebody gets just put in there, not a puppet, but he was planted in that position. So when you go to Google, King Herod, history, reign, and death, right? What nationality was King Herod in the Bible? Although an Idumean, he married into Jewish royalty and was proclaimed king of the Jews by Rome. This explained King Herod's unease at hearing about a baby born king of the Jews in the opening pages of the New Testament. King Herod is just there. Keep going. Was King Herod from Egypt? While it's uncertain precisely where Herod was born, it's known that his father, Antipater, who died in 43 BC, came from Idumea, also called Edom, a region by the southern coast of the Dead Sea. His mother, Cypros, was from Nabatea, a wealthy kingdom in Jordan that included the city of Petra. So he was not a Jew. He was the second son of Antipater, the Idumean or the Edomite, a high-ranking official under Ethnarch Hyrcanus II, and Cypros, a Nabatean Arab princess from Petra in present-day Jordan. Herod's father was by descent an Edomite with a Jewish mother. His ancestors had converted to Judaism. Herod was raised as a Jew. So he wasn't a Jew. He was raised as a Jew. So with him having this background, right, it would make sense that he would be celebrating birthdays, because they didn't do that, right? He's not a good example to put forth. He's not the best example for the argument. If you're arguing for birthdays, he's not the best example to use. Now let's address the second mention in the scriptures of a birthday being celebrated again by a pagan. In Genesis 40, 20-22, Pharaoh's birthday celebration involved a feast and the execution of the chief baker. This ancient story reveals the perilous nature of birthday celebrations. Genesis 40, 20-22, and it came to pass the third day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again, and he gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. Remember Joseph, his story, he was in jail, and both of them were in there. He had the vision. The guy had you're gonna lose your head, basically. All right. So that happened on Pharaoh's birthday, that whole story. And yet another account of atrocities being conducted. Go ahead.
Oh, real quick, I was just looking at the eSword one and looking at that verse for Genesis 40:20 for Pharaoh's birthday. It's the same Hebrew, the Strong Hebrew Dictionary number used for Job. So H3117 it actually has two for a birthday. That one and then another one, and then Job is, so it's pretty much the same word when it was translated. That is the same word.
Gotcha. I mean, so that's even kind of more, a little bit more evidence pointing to birthdays. So you might have three, but all of them is bad. They're all tragedies. Let's see if the Apocrypha would provide any relief. Second Maccabees chapter 6 verses 7-17 portrays forced birthday celebrations among the Jews with rituals intertwined with pagan practices like the festival in honor of the wine goddess Dionysus. These events highlight the cultural and religious clashes surrounding birthdays. Second Maccabees, this is an Apocrypha. If you're not familiar with the Apocrypha, It's one of the many books that were taken out of the original Bible. Verse 7, each month when the king's birthday was celebrated, the Jews were compelled by brute force to eat the intestines of sacrificial animals. Then, during the festival in honor of the wine goddess Dionysus, this is a Greek goddess, they were required to wear ivy wreaths on their heads and march in procession. On the advice of Ptolemy, the neighboring Greek cities were also instructed to require Jews to eat the sacrifices. They were told to put to death every Jew who refused to adopt the Greek way of life. The Greek way of life. It was easy to see that hard times were for having babies circumcised. They were paraded around the city with their babies hung from their breasts. Then they were thrown down from the city wall. On another occasion, Philip was told that some Jews had gathered in a nearby cave to observe the Sabbath in secret. Philip attacked and burned them all alive. They had such respect for the Sabbath that they would not fight to defend themselves. I beg you not to become discouraged as you read about the terrible things that happened. Consider that this was the Most High's way of punishing his people, not of destroying them. In fact, it is a sign of kindness to punish a person immediately for his sins, rather than to wait a long time. The Most High does not treat us as he does other nations. He waits patiently until they have become deeply involved in sin before he punishes them. But he punishes us before we have sinned too much. The atrocities held on birthdays are abominable. Again, we see it being held by pagan individuals from non-Hebrew nations. Now let's pivot to how even different religious groups having varying stances on birthday celebrations. The Jehovah's Witnesses, for example, firmly reject these festivities because they believe that birthday celebrations displease the Most High. Although the Bible does not explicitly forbid them, they draw from biblical principles to make an informed decision. And then they say birthday celebrations have pagan roots. According to Funk and Wagnall's Standard Dictionary of Folklore, Mythology, and Legend, these celebrations originated from the belief that on a person's birthday, evil spirits and influences have the opportunity to attack the celebrants, and that the presence of the friends and the expression of good wishes help to protect the celebrant. The Book of the Lore of Birthdays says that in ancient times, birthday records were essential for the casting of a horoscope based on the mystic science of astrology. This book adds that birthday candles, in folk belief, are endowed with special magic for granting wishes. The Bible, however, condemns the use of magic, divination, spiritism, or anything like this. And it mentions Deuteronomy 18:14 and Galatians 5:19 through 21. And 18:14 is, for these nations which thou shalt possess, hearken unto observer of times and unto diviners or diviners. But as for thee, the Most High thy Elohim hath not suffered thee to do so to do. So he didn't tell us to do those things. Galatians 5:19 through 21 says, now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of Elohim. In fact, one reason why the Most High condemned the ancient city of Babylon was that its inhabitants practice astrology, which is a form of divination. Isaiah 47:11-15. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth, if so if so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Behold, they shall be as a stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter, none shall save thee. Jehovah's Witnesses are not the roots of every custom, yet when the scriptures give such pointed indications, we do not ignore them. This is what they say. The early Christians did not celebrate birthdays. The World Book Encyclopedia says that they considered the celebration of anyone's birth to be a pagan custom. The Bible shows that the apostles and others who were taught directly by the Messiah established a pattern that all Christians should follow. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 6. Now we command you, brethren, in the name of the Messiah, that ye withdraw yourselves from every brother that walketh disorderly, and not after the tradition which he received of us. Instead of celebrating births, Christians are encouraged to commemorate the death of the Messiah. This shift in focus aligns with biblical principles as seen in Luke 2:17 through 20. And this is that. And he took the cup and gave thanks and said, take this and divide it amongst yourselves. For I say unto you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of the Most High shall come. And he took the bread and gave thanks and brake it and gave it unto them, saying, this is my body, which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me. Likewise, also the cup after supper, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you. This should not be surprising, for the Bible says that the day of death is better than the day of birth. Ecclesiastes 7:1. That says, a good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death than the day of one's birth. By the end of his life on earth, Messiah had made a good name with the Most High, making the day of his death more important than the day of his birth. Hebrews 1:4. Being made so much better than the angels, as he hath by inheritance obtained a more excellent name than they. The Bible never refers to a servant of the Most High celebrating a birthday. This is not simply an oversight, for it does record 2 birthday celebrations by those not serving the Most High. However, both of those events are presented in a bad light, which we covered earlier. Genesis 40:22 and Mark. This is the, that was Pharaoh and Herod, right? But this information is coming from Jehovah's Witnesses, so obviously they're not looking into the Apocrypha, so they don't know about Second Maccabees and even Jasher in terms of the mention of Abraham with the weaning. So the Jewish Encyclopedia acknowledges the absence of positive data in the Bible or rabbinical literature regarding birthday celebrations among ancient Jews. While there's no explicit prohibition, this absence doesn't necessarily imply that Jews practice such celebrations. Remember, we read earlier somewhere where it said that it was not a part of Jewish tradition, right? It's the celebrating of a birthday. Then it says, there is no positive data in the Bible or in rabbinical literature concerning birthday festivals among the ancient Jews. The silence on the subject, however, no warrant for the conclusion that the Jews altogether abstained from following a custom which was general among the Egyptians. So it's saying there's no evidence to, for or against, basically. But it identifies that the custom, which was general among the Egyptians, Persians, Syrians, and Greeks. All of those are pagan cultures. All of those are pagan societies. And we read over and over and over again about the Greeks' influence in the origin of birthday celebration. That's the Jewish Encyclopedia. There's the article for that. In fact, there are various accounts in scriptures where one's own birthday is lamented or referenced in despair. Job's lament in Job chapter 3 and Jeremiah's curses in Jeremiah 20:14 through 17 against the days of their birth further emphasize the negative sentiments associated with birthdays. Job chapter 3, after this opened Job his mouth and cursed his day. But what day? Continue reading. And Job spake and said, let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night in which it was said, there is a man child conceived. That's very dark. I'm sorry, that's dark. But it gets darker. It says, literally, it gets darker. He says darkness. Let that day be darkness. Let not the Most High regard it from above, neither let the light shine upon it. Let darkness and the shadow of death stain it. Let a cloud dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined unto the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of the months. So he talking about removing it completely. Lo, let night be solitary. Let no joyful voice come therein. Let them curse it that curse the day, who are ready to rise up their mourning, not in the morning, but to mourn, right? Mourning. Let the stars of the twilight thereof be dark. Let it look for light, but have none. Neither let it see the dawning of the day, because it shut not up the doors of my mother's womb, nor hid sorrow from mine eyes. Why died I not from the womb? So you're like, why did I die in the womb? Why did I not give up the ghost when I came out of the belly? Right? That's Job. This is Jeremiah. Cursed be the day wherein I was born. Let not the day wherein my mother bare me be blessed. What? Cursed be the man who brought tidings to my father, saying, a man child is born unto thee, making him very glad. And let that man be as the cities which the Most High overthrew and repented not. And let him hear the cry in the morning and the shouting at the noontide, because he slew me not from the womb, or that my mother might have been my grave, and her womb to be always great with me. That's dark. That's dark. Let's examine several pieces of historical evidence that discusses the celebration of birthdays. Now, this right here, I gotta give it special attention, because this individual, Josephus, if you haven't heard about him, he's an ancient Jewish historian. He called himself Jewish historians, but he was a Jew living during the time of the Jews, and he wrote about a lot of different things. And his writings and his historical documents that he produced has been validated and is widely accepted among scholars and historians that it's legitimate. So this isn't like this verse, right? I mean, this quote from him isn't like some random historian, like, oh, I'm a historian and this is what I'm saying. No, Josephus is legit. And if you don't know who Josephus is, go check it out. You got to work. You can get the book, The Works of Flavius Josephus. Is really big, but it's a really good read. But anyways, he says, nay, indeed, the law does not permit us to make festivals at the birth of our children, and thereby afford occasion of drinking to excess. Now, when he says the law, he's telling you like what was in the law that we read in the Bible, and he's also giving you insight to the law that was continually kept throughout what we call the time of the New Testament, because that's the time where he, that's the time he was living. So it says the law doesn't permit it. It doesn't permit making festivals at the birth of our children, right? And that's from Josephus. Then it says late Orthodox Catholics were against the celebration of birthdays. Even Catholics who are rooted in paganism were against birthdays. That's kind of interesting. The Catholic Encyclopedia states, Origin, it's an individual, it's not the word origin, glancing perhaps at the discreditable Imperial Natalia, asserts in this book right here, page 495, that in the scriptures, sinners alone, not saints, celebrate their birthday. So, in early Orthodox Catholics, this individual said that in the scriptures, sinners alone celebrates their birthdays, not saints. And you know, being a saint in Catholicism, that means you lived a righteous life, a pious life, and now you're placed in high esteem, and people can pray to the saint to get to the Father. I know it's crazy, but they put big influence, in what's the word I want to say? Emphasis. They put big emphasis on saints. So you got sinner, saint, right? Sinner bad, saint good. So they saying sinners celebrate birthdays, not saints. This is Orthodox Catholics, early Orthodox Catholics. Okay, so here is more of what that individual wrote. Of all the holy people in the scriptures, no one is recorded to have kept a feast or held a great banquet on his birthday. It is only sinners like Pharaoh and Herod who make great rejoicing over the day on which they were born into this world below. So he continues on and he adds that in there, right? History of celebrating birthdays in the West. It is thought that the large-scale celebration of birthdays in Europe began with the cult of Mithras. Remember, I told you we're going to come back to Mithras because I mentioned it earlier, which originated in Persia but was spread by soldiers throughout the Roman Empire. Before this, such celebrations were not common, and hence practices from other contexts, such as Saturnalia, which is what was initially what was Christmas, and it evolved into Christmas later, were adopted for birthdays. Because many Roman soldiers took to Mithraism, it had a wide distribution and influence throughout the empire until it was supplanted by Christianity. And Brother Greg, you can attest to this because we literally just covered this a couple of weeks ago in our studies going into the origin of Christianity. So you had the study of Mithras. Mithras was the pagan cult that was going around at the same time as Christians. So this should kind of like connect some dots for you. But yeah, so Christmas is also relevant because December 25th was the day of celebration of the birthday of the sun god Mithra, right? Perhaps it should also be mentioned that one of the key features of Mithraism was Sunday observance. The reason that it seems to be relevant is that the Roman Empire Constantine, the first Roman emperor to make a profession of Christ, was also the emperor to make Sunday laws, which he began to do on March 7th, 321 AD. Also, a few years later, the Council of Nicaea was in 325 AD. He convened that day, declared Sunday to be the Christian day of worship. And they have, for more information, go to that thing. All right. According to 4th century historian Epiphanius, some who observed Passover on the 14th day of the first month claimed that Emperor Constantine mandated a Sunday observance of it in the Council of Nicaea in 325 in order to somehow honor his birthday. Again, Emperor Constantine, even though he was dibbling and dabbling in Christianity a little bit, he was still pagan all the way through and through. And birthday celebrations was common for them because it went all the way back through Roman culture into Persian, originated in the Greek culture, right? And all of them were like cousins. You change the Passover to Constantine's birthday. And that's a direct quote from that scholar that we just talked about. The World Book Encyclopedia notes, Christmas in 354 AD, Bishop Liberius of Rome ordered the people to celebrate on December 25th. He probably chose this date because the people of Rome already observed it as the feast of Saturn, celebrating the birthday of the sun. So it goes deeper than just, celebrating your own birthday. Like birthday worship goes deep. Hence, it would seem to follow that since those who professed Messiah as late as the 3rd century did not celebrate birthdays, that it was not after a Roman emperor implemented Sunday that perhaps he and others were amenable to adopting other practices of Mithraism, one of which was birthday celebrations. This is apparently how birthdays became to be celebrated amongst those that professed Christianity. A celebration for the date of the Messiah's birth in Rome probably began near this time, but was mandated no later than 354 AD, saying that 354 AD is the cutoff point. So by that point, all of that institution of celebrating birthdays and influence those pagan traditions was already established. Thus, the birthday of the Son festivities were a major factor in the date chosen for followers of Greco-Roman Christianity to celebrate. And once those that professed the Messiah began to widely celebrate that birthday, other birthday celebrations became more common. So once they established the birthdays centered around the Messiah, everybody else started to follow suit in their own personal lives, celebrating their own personal birthdays. And that's from that book, Should Christians Celebrate Birthdays? Do Birthdays Have Pagan Origins, by Bob Thiel. Now, let us delve into the satanic aspect of celebrating birthdays other than it being an adversary and mentioned earlier. So back in 1969, Anton LaVey wrote the Satanic Bible. On page 96 in the 1976 version, it mentions birthdays. The highest of all holidays in the satanic religion is the date of one's own birth. This is in direct contradiction to the holy of holy days of other religions, which defy a particular God who has been created in an anthropomorphic form of their own image, thereby showing that the ego is not really buried. So it's basically a big smack you, a big smack to the face, to the Most High. The Satanist feels, why not really be honest? And if you are going to create a God in your image, why not create that God as yourself? So the scriptures do say that we are gods, but we're not hiding the Most High. We're still supposed to worship him. We're not to be worshiped. This is saying that you're supposed to be worshiped. Why not create you as God? Why not say that you are God? Right? Every man is a God if he chooses to recognize himself as one. So the Satanist celebrates his own birthday as the most important holiday of the year. And they got all kind of holidays. And their holidays are contrary to the Most High's feasts and holy days. Because, Satan, he inverts. He perverts everything. After all, aren't you happier? And this is how listen to the way they word this, right? After all, aren't you happier about the fact that you were born than you are about the birth of someone you never even met? Or for that matter, aside from religious holidays, why pay higher tribute to the birthday of a president or to a date in history than we do to the day we were brought into this greatest of all worlds? And why do they say it's the greatest of all worlds? He's talking about the world, and who's the ruler of this world? Satan, right? Despite the fact that some of us may not have been wanted, or at least were not particularly planned, we're glad, even if no one else is, that we're here. You should give yourself a pat on the back, buy yourself whatever you want, treat yourself like the king or God that you are, and generally celebrate your birthday with so much pomp and ceremony as possible. Now, when you talk about modern day, right? Modern day, is that not how people celebrate birthdays? Pat yourself on the back, buy yourself whatever you want, treat yourself like a king or God or queen or goddess, right? That you are. And generally celebrate your birthday with as much pomp and ceremony as possible. How much money gets spent on birthday parties? How much money gets spent on people going on trips and cruises and all that just because it's their birthday? How many people say they're going to turn up for the whole weekend? Or how many people say that they're going to celebrate the entire month of their birthday because it's their birthday? The things that you wouldn't spend money on normally when you're trying to budget and live a good and set apart and righteous life, you spend for your birthday. The stuff that you normally wouldn't do, you're more willing to do it on your birthday. And do it for others people's birthday. So us as parents and celebrating and putting on all of those parties and doing certain things, you know how much money we spend on those types of things? But it's all because of a birthday. We should be waking up every single day with thanks and be feeling grateful and giving praise to the Most High for another day to live, for another day to serve him, for another day to impact another individual, for another day to be able to, instill plant a seed into someone so that they can develop a relationship with him. But we're concerned with celebrating this one day, the day that we were born. And it's not, when you really look at it, your birthday is one day. It's a reminder of you're a year older, which means you're a year closer to death, which means you're, you know what I'm saying? It's not really that special when you think about it. The date itself, nothing really that special about it. All praises that you were born. All praises that you had a kid. All praises that somebody came into the world. But after that part, like, you know, what is there after that? But the Satanic Bible picture. Now, this the right picture, the picture on the right hand side. He's talking about specifically Halloween. But if you read that and you change the word one night to day, it could easily be talking about a birthday, right? I'm glad that Christian parents let their children worship the devil at least one night out of the year, right? He was talking about Halloween, but
yeah, Anton LaVey is. If you guys don't know about him, it's like that. Actually, that one video I sent last week, it actually mentioned him and that guy that told his testimony. It involved him and his daughter and his granddaughter. It's just crazy, you know, because he was a high up Satan, is astral projecting and doing crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, bad juju. All right. Birthdays, pagan occult origins, and the highest of all holy days in the Satanic Bible. This is basically saying in a nutshell everything we just read. So I'm not gonna read it all. Like we said, it's the most important day of the year, but it had a lot more a lot more information. But lastly, I want to preface my conclusion with the fact that Scripture tells us that the Most High doesn't change. If this is in fact true, then the celebration of one's own birthday would have been permitted during biblical times, like it is in modern day Babylon. But yet we see no instruction, no command, no indication whatsoever that the Most High allowed it or enforced it. So what does this tell us? And that's in Malachi 3:6. He says, "For I am the Most High, I change not." Some versions say, "I changeth not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed." So in conclusion, the evidence points to the pagan origins of birthday celebrations and their absence from biblical instruction. Understanding these origins is essential for individuals seeking to align their beliefs and practices with the Bible. Ultimately, guiding them towards a more spiritually focused path, we must examine and use discernment according to the totality of Scripture. There is no mention of birthday celebration in the Scripture that indicates that it is permitted by the Most High for his chosen, set-apart people to observe. However, we see negative examples associated with things he clearly is against, like paganism, idolatry, and various forms of witchcraft. Whether something is a tradition doesn't justify our participation, especially if we seek to live a set-apart life. We should be able to put our own biases, feelings, and opinions on the shelf and examine the matter from an objective viewpoint. Will you willingly participate in celebrating birthdays after this? I know that was a lot of information. It really was 34 pages, believe it or not. So that's why I was kind of speeding through, because I didn't want to have to do a part 2 to this. I wanted to get this done.
No, very, very good, man. Very, very thorough.
Yeah, that was a lot of good information.
Mm-hmm.
So I apologize for the longer presentation. Normally we be like having like 35 minutes of conversation by now, but yeah, that was it. Professor S, did you have anything to add to that?
Actually, everything I was going to add, you pretty much covered. So yeah, that's why I was saying it was very thorough. I had, you know, I did a little looking into it, and I was pretty surprised, really, because it was something that I hadn't really looked into before, like heavily. Like I had looked into it briefly, but not enough to convince me that it was necessarily a bad thing, or, you know. Now I would say that, you know, being like, oh, I'm having a birthday, you know, that's not necessarily, that's not an inherently evil thing to do, but to have the parties and incorporate all the pagan practices and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's, and I didn't even realize how much of it was like that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Blew me away.
You know, everything from the giving of gifts, the candles, the festival, the feast, the party, you know, all of that. Like you'd be surprised how much is rooted in paganism.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I really was actually. Like I couldn't like I knew some of it was. I knew about the candles and the cake and Artemis and all that kind of stuff, but I did not know like all the other stuff. That's yeah. And then pretty much everything that you had covered in there, I was going to bring up. Like, you know, I brought up the Pharaoh and the Herod, you know, before, and then I was like, you probably got this in there. And like every point that I was going to make, you had it in there. So.
And you said that was quick research?
Yeah. Yeah. I literally had like a paragraph of like 3.5 sentences from a previous study that I did on it. And then I just built upon that, and I did all of that in like maybe like 6-7 hours. So it wasn't like weeks and weeks and weeks of research for it, because all the information is like literally like right there. Like you could Google all of that stuff, and that's why I like to take screenshots to show you like some of the things I Google and what comes up. You know, just to kind of show you like, oh, I'm not just like creating this information from thin air. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I found it interesting when you look into the origin of it. Obviously, like I said, like the Greeks, the Persians, and all of them, they're kind of like cousins. But how the Greeks kind of like started it, and then the Romans adopted it through various like Mithraism and having influence from the various pagan deities that they worshipped, and how they had influence from their emperor who was putting in instituting laws and stuff. And then when you talk about the Greco-Roman Catholic Church, how it was initiated, and they were trying to like purge all the bad paganism out, right? And then make everything formulated around the Messiah. And then once everybody was like, all right, we'll do it, we'll keep it, then they started keeping it individually. And then you see that trickle down into, you know, old accounts, but still kind of fairly new compared to us, like in the 1400s, 15, 16, 1700s. And that birthday tradition just continue to just flow into mainstream modern day, you know. And so I found it interesting, like the flow of how birthdays originated and got to us today. So that was the kind of like the most interesting point that I pulled out. The most surprising point that I pulled out was when I found the thing in Maccabees about birthdays. Yeah, that one shocked me. I'm like, what? They were making them by brute force eat the sacrifice, and that was just crazy. I was like, bro.
Yeah, I just feel like the Most High Yahweh was you know, he, you know, because you know, from the beginning of time to now, there's been so much deception and wickedness that's been, you know, sprinkled into like our lives, that he's starting to clean it up, you know, little by little, starting to let people that have eyes to see and hearts that want to serve him with heart, mind, and soul, you know, show us all this stuff. So little by little, the things that we are doing, that we've been doing for years and decades, because you know, we had no idea, we just did it because everybody else did it. And it's like, now we're starting to think, wait a minute, why am I doing this? Or is this actually thinking, asking questions, researching? So he's like, internet, you know, obviously we know it was put there, I think, you know, for evil, but we can use it for good right now, you know, until they start to shut stuff off, make us have IDs to get on, but cleaning up all the stuff so we can see the truth. So then we have a choice. So we really can't have an excuse. Well, I didn't know, you know, when that end time comes, like we really are seeing all the stuff. We can start to get out of our lives, because it takes time. Some people are quick, you know, if you're chained, if you've been smoking for 30 years, most people can't just stop cold turkey. It takes time and patches. Same thing with this stuff, where a lot of things we're so used to doing to where we see it, but it still would take time for some people, you know what, I already scheduled this for my kid's birthday. You know, we already got people coming. You know, so a lot of that stuff is like taking time for us to be able. Okay, let's wean off it. Let's get it fully out of our systems. So then when that day comes, we can't. You know, I didn't know, or you had time to detox from all this stuff.
Facts.
And that's a great thing that you were saying, Greg, about slowly taking these things out of our lives, because I'm of the opinion that salvation is a process, not a particular point in time, right?
I agree.
And so it's a process, and as you go through, you find out as you read through Scripture and study Scripture and contemplate different topics like birthdays or what have you, you find different things, and then you recognize, hey, I've been doing this wrong, or I shouldn't have been doing this, or I need to change this, or this is the way I'm supposed to do things, And as you do that, you incorporate more into your life, and disregard and discard things that are not supposed to be in your life. So it's a process of detoxification.
Yeah, and it's like, and then like you said, that seeking the Scriptures diligently, like hear that for years and never really knew what that meant until more recently. Like, wow, it that's why people. So I read the Bible from front to cover. It didn't really do anything for me. Like, you can't read it like it's a fictional book. It takes a lifetime of reading and continually searching and repenting every day, in my opinion, every day, and just knowing that we know nothing, and just turn into Yah saying, hey, I please show me the truth. Please don't let me be deceived. To where we continually, like you said, the process that he will continually show us. Because we say, oh, well, I prayed 5 years ago and I didn't hear anything, so I stopped. Like, okay, this is a one-time thing. You got to pray every day for that. It's just showing that we got to turn to him for everything, like all day, every day. We got to turn to the Most High, to Yah, for everything. But so it's like this: the more we continue to seek, he shows us stuff. Then we even lose the desire for it, because a lot of stuff you look at, stuff we did years ago, it used to do, is like now you don't even want to do. Like you don't even desire. Like, wow, I don't even care for that. Like, you think, oh man, I'm not gonna have a fun life. I'm gonna be bored trying to follow the Bible. But you actually get joy. You actually get life. When you start to let that stuff go, like, wow, this actually feels good. Now I have more time to read and study and help people or pray for people or whatever it is. It's like you are happier when you take away the pagan. So then you see from a different perspective. Like, you have friends that maybe are still doing it. Like, wow, look, these people are still doing this stuff. And it makes you grateful that Yah opened your eyes and you got away from it. And you see people still doing certain things they used to do that you stepped away from, like, and you just like don't even desire it. You're like, wow, thanks, Father, for taking me out of that.
Yep. Absolutely. Like what's the date? November 5th. My birthday was October 24th. And I didn't realize it was my birthday until I think October 22nd. And I saw the date. And then I was like, oh snap, I'm about to be 33. But I was like, okay, cool. And keep it moving. Like, I haven't celebrated a birthday since 2017. No. Nope. Not even 2017. Yeah, 2017 was last year. I celebrated a birthday. And like it just become just a normal day. And
I even lost his eye. Even before knowing it, this is the deepest dive I've ever done on that. Even before, 2020 is like my year, starting to wake up with stuff. But even, I didn't even care. Oh, what are you gonna do for your birthday? Like, I don't care. People, hey, you want to go out to eat? Okay, maybe I'll do it at that when people, let's just go out to eat. A few people, okay. But even after the years ago, I'm like, I just don't even care. Like, it doesn't matter. I thank you, Father, for letting me be here another year. Like you said, just keep on moving from there. I don't even care anymore.
I think I'm the same way you were, Greg. Like 2020 is when I started to actually start living in truth. But I have kids, that are teenagers. So they were so used to it before. So now it's an adjustment for them. Yeah. So for them, I don't take it. Like, I let them know we don't celebrate it, but I don't take it completely away. Like, we're still thankful that you're alive. Like, we might go out to eat that week or something, but we don't celebrate it on that actual day. But because they were brought up the wrong way before I started living in truth, they celebrated birthdays. So now they may have other side of the family that celebrated with them. But for me, with them, I don't just be like, happy born day and things like that. But I don't go out to the extent like I used to, because now I know the truth.
Yeah, good. Yeah, like I said,
so like I try to teach it to my teenagers and my adult kids, but you can only teach them but so much. But
Yeah.
They gotta want to
Right.
learn it for themselves. But like I
Exactly.
deal with that now. I have high schoolers, so birthdays come around. They be like, "It's my birthday." I'd be like, "Happy born day," and it's just another day. Maybe later on, or maybe before it, I might take them out. We might just go out to eat or something, but it's not to celebrate the birthday.
Yeah. See, and there's the thing. There's the thing. I don't think there's anything inherently evil about acknowledging that someone was born, they're another year old and stuff, you know. But it's once again, it's incorporating all these pagan practices, making a deal of it and saying, "Oh, well, it's your special day, so we're gonna sing you songs today and all this kind of stuff."
I'm gonna spend 10 grand on my birthday this year because I'm whatever, you know.
Right, and
Like,
that should
what?
never be the case. But you know, if you've been doing it before and you're living in truth now, yeah, it's kind. For me, it's not hard, but you know, I have children, so for them to adjust, that's the difficulty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I try to, like you say, don't incorporate that day, but also try to remember I'm thanking the Most High that you made it another year.
Mm-hmm. And it's a process.
Think about real quick. Everybody here, but for the people who are watching at home as well, think about how much emphasis we used to put on birthdays. I use myself as an example. If I woke up on my birthday, this is when I was a kid. If I woke up on my birthday and it was raining, I was mad. I wanted my birthday to be sunny, bright, so I could go outside and play and have fun. I was looking forward to my birthday gifts. If my dad told me that he was going to take me somewhere on my birthday, if like something happened where like his check came later, you know, just something came up, right? I instantly went into this hella ungrateful, rebellious spirit. Like I had this ungrateful, rebellious spirit come over me where I didn't care what the situation was or what the circumstances was. All I wanted was my birthday, whatever he promised, right? And like, we don't realize like those types of things that happen to us. You know, something could have, you know, seriously happened. And he could, and a lot of those times I tell you, he's like, we're not going to do it on your birthday, but we're going to do it the day after, or we're going to do it on your birthday because your birthday landed on a Tuesday. We're going to do it on Friday or Saturday on that weekend. And then I'll get mad and upset because on my actual birthday, we weren't doing something that I really wanted to do. Right. Or when you get older and you have a birthday and you plan out this entire event, we're going to go here, we're going to go there, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then stuff falls apart and it doesn't go as planned. Do you realize how upset we be getting? Do you realize like the kind of spirit that comes upon us in those moments?
Oh man, kind of like the bridezillas.
Yeah,
this is my day. I want it to be special. Like
exactly,
God gave me this day. This is my day. Like, oh wait a minute. Let's.
It makes sense why those various spirits come upon us, right? Because we're opening doors and portals, and we're allowing these types of spirits to come in because the practice of what we're doing is rooted in paganism.
Yeah,
but we don't know that. I know nothing about, you know, I barely even cracked open the Bible back in those days. You know what I'm saying? But and still, it still happened. You know, think about like, have you ever talked to somebody and due to circumstances, they either didn't have the money, something happened in life, or they were like so busy, couldn't get off work, couldn't get the time off to actually celebrate their birthday, how depressed they got? Have you ever really realized that?
Not until right now. Like, just how people get so angry and mad. Like, you didn't tell me happy birthday. You missed it. Like, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, family never stopped speaking to one another for years. You forgot my birthday.
It's like, and what if somebody, like, for example, let's say it's, I don't know, a parent that's working hard to make sure there's food on the table. They're working 2 jobs. They're exhausted, and they forgot. You know, and it's like, you forgot my birthday. And it's like, you say I'm working 2. You're not grateful. We got a roof over our head. We got food, and they're upset. Like, what is my day? I don't care. You're working 2 jobs. Where's my cake?
Facts.
Wow.
I want my cake. I want my ice cream. You know what I'm saying? I want my presents. And my presents better be wrapped. I don't want you putting it, just giving it to me in my hand. I want to be able to open it up myself and see what I got. You know what I mean?
Just even that. Just imagine, you know, that stems off even like just Christmas. You people like you get presents and you don't wrap it. You know, like you go to somebody, people kind of even look at you weird and judge you. Oh, you didn't wrap them? Like they're gonna tear it up anyway. Like you're getting a gift. Like why does it matter if it's wrapped or not? So even me, I was thinking about that some years ago, like, wow, these people are so ungrateful. And then Black Friday, Thanksgiving, you come for, it's supposed to be for thanks. Then the next day you're fighting each other at Walmart for like the Hug-A-Bear kiss or whatever them things are called today. Yeah, it's crazy, but it makes sense. Like you said, those spirits of ungratefulness and anger and bitterness and shame and selfishness, whatever, it's like you could just see them coming out. Now, I never thought about that till now. It's like I'm seeing, wow, people are angry and selfish, like more. It's like enhanced during like holidays and those pagan celebrations. Wow.
Yeah. Hold on, brother Greg. I'm just not seeing your text. I just looked at my phone. He said
somebody's driving or they're got to work or something.
Yeah. Earlier was said that if something has a pagan origin, this question is for you, Professor S. That the act is pagan. That includes birthdays. Professor S just said he did not know that and just alluded to celebrating a birthday without the parties is okay, didn't he? ? So go ahead and elaborate on what you mean by that.
No. I mean, acknowledging it, that's one thing. I mean, saying, no, someone saying, oh, well, happy birthday to you, that is just acknowledging that someone was born on that day. That's completely different than going and having a party and all kinds of celebrations and stuff. Acknowledging something is, it's because it is a fact. I mean, everyone has birthdays, right? Everyone was born, right?
Yeah.
And there's a day that you're born on. So, acknowledging it is not a bad thing. And even saying, I hope you have a good day, it's when you go in and participate in all the revelries and the pagan.
Yeah, I agree with that. Hey, oh, it's your birthday today. Okay, cool. Happy birthday, man. It's like, you just kind of keep it going. You're not like, I'm gonna worship you today and
exactly.
For you. It's like, hey, cool, happy birthday. Like I say, we track our age.
I don't even generally tell someone it's my birthday when it is, and I actually haven't for years. But I mean, if someone knows and they say happy birthday, I'm not going to be like, oh, how could you,
Yeah, or somebody asks, hey, when's your birthday? Tell them my birthday's January 20. I don't think that.
This
hey, when's your birthday? Okay, but it's not. I don't care for cards.
This is the third time you said that, Professor S. So I got a comment, bro. I got a comment.
I said that for a third time. Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna break it down.
I do have a tendency to repeat myself. Sorry about that.
No, it's good. It's good. If it's my birthday, for example, and someone who doesn't know that I don't celebrate birthdays says happy birthday, I said, thank you, I appreciate it, but I don't really celebrate birthdays. I let them know, I clarify. But the people who know that I don't celebrate birthdays, if they say happy birthday, yes, I respond differently because I've expressed to you more than one time that I don't celebrate birthdays. So if after I've expressed that to you, you can purposefully, consistently still say happy birthday to me, that's disrespectful because you're not respecting my belief and the fact that I said I don't celebrate it. If it was something that you say you don't rock with, out of respect for you, I wouldn't, call you that, associated with it, whatever the case may be, right? Now, every year is always one, at least one. And I used to make posts on my birthday like, yo, don't tell me happy birthday, I don't celebrate them, right? I don't do it no more, but at the end of probably the end of the day, I'm almost made it through a whole day. I get a text or a message or a messenger. Hey, I know you don't celebrate birthdays, but happy born day or some rendition of that, right? And then I go, because their intentions to them are good, but they didn't realize that they just went out of their way to blatantly disregard my feelings and my beliefs and my faith by doing that, because they're so caught up in the tradition that is pagan in origin to begin with. Does that make sense? So for me, if you don't know me, you say happy birthday, I'm not going to bite your head off, right? I'm going to say thank you. I appreciate it because I know where it's coming from. But I'll just let you know politely, hey, I don't celebrate birthdays. But if you know me, and y'all know who know me, don't do it, because that, it's like if you said that, your mom died of cancer, and you don't like people to talk about cancer around you. Out of respect for that, I can respect that, and I won't.
Yeah.
But if I know your mom died for cancer, I know that's a touchy subject for you. Why would I go around you talking about cancer on purpose, knowing that you've expressed that to me? I mean, that's two different extremes, obviously, but I'm just trying to make the general point. Anyways, does anybody got anything take away from the information today outside of what we've already covered?
Nope, I think it was good and appreciate it. That was a good study.
All praises.
It was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. You did a real good job. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All praises. All praises.
Wise man brother over there.
Hey, look.
Absolutely.
Very good, very thorough study on that, man. Really good.
I love those Word documents, like it's like just packed with so much info.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I was up to like 5:30 because time went forward. So I'm like, how did we get to 5 o'clock so fast?
Gonna sleep good tonight. Well, I think you're still out of town, but hopefully you get the rest good.
I'm gonna get a couple hours, and get up the road. I will get good rest tomorrow night, though. I promise you that.
Okay.
We finna get it together. But all right, family. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to cover next portion, just so everybody has it. All right, I'm pulling it up on the screen. All right, next week's Torah portion, courtesy of Professor S. He provides all this information each week, for y'all. By the way, all the Torah portion information, all of the links for the Torah portion videos that we watch, all of that comes from Professor S. So thank you, Professor S. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Professor S.
No, I don't. I don't produce the material. I just pass it along.
That's all we gotta do. Brother Greg said, he says, thanks for the study. I had not been celebrating since 2008. So all praises. You got me faded by 10 years. All praises for that. Next week's Torah portion is Genesis chapter 23, verses 1 through Genesis chapter 25, verse 18. Then 1 Kings chapter 1, verses 1 through 31. And then you put MT. So I was assuming that was Matthew. Okay. Yeah. Matthew chapter 1, verses 1 through 17. And then 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 50 through 57. Since I missed Torah reading last week, I have double reading this week. So I'm going to be jam-packed, reading a ton of scripture, but it's okay. More notification for me. I'll leave this up for the remainder of the show, so you guys have time to write it down or whatever you need to do. Or
write it down, take a screenshot of it.
Watching it at home, can screenshot or pause the video, whatever you need to do. But with that being said, family, I thank you for being here. Appreciate everybody on the panel. Appreciate everybody watching it at home. And may the Most High bless you, keep you, camp His angels around you, and give you shalom and peace. Love you guys. Shabbat shalom.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Oh yeah, like, share, and subscribe. I'll be putting it across the bottom now, so I don't even. And I'll make sure I hit the button so it go across. Like
Most High put on your heart. Donate.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Jazzy Boo's phone died, so she said Shabbat shalom, everybody. She love y'all and have a blessed week. Yes, absolutely. Have a blessed week. Speaking nothing but blessings and prosperity and fortune and peace and tranquility and shalom on you guys, man. I love you. And absolutely, y'all already know how we do it here on Truth Talk Radio. All right, family.
All righty, y'all. Have a good night.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
The kingdom that just do
shalom.
what it takes. It's a garden out here and it's covered in snakes. We can't serve two masters, a higher or mammon. I'm praying for my people cause we out here in a famine.
Ain't no love out here, it's a famine. What a shame that you can't put your trust in nobody. All we supposed to be family. Yeah, that's true until one day you start increasing the mind. Come on. Love that it seems like advantage. I just pray that my people will hear this is power. Hate that they show I can stand it. I don't care if you don't like me, I'ma love you.
What happens when you run out of food? Getting low on that water. Catastrophic chaos as sheep are led to the slaughter. I'm trying to save my people, but too many of them stubborn. Closed mouths don't get fed no matter how much I love them. Think that you can make it alone? Then